Hello, this is Dr. David A. Gaitros, Department of Computer Science at Florida State University, and I'd like to welcome you to my undergraduate lecture series on selected topics in computer science. You can find these videos and others at my YouTube channel at the URL listed below, or you can simply go to YouTube and search using Gaitros and FSU as keywords. Now on to the lecture. Continuing in our lectures on MIPS assembly language, I want to cover the idea of branching or change in control. And what we have here is a list of possible commands we can use to accomplish that. The first setup here are the unconditional jumps. And now jumps differ from branches in that jumps we have, usually with the jumps, we have an address or a register that contains an address. That is an absolute location inside the machines. With a jump, we have a jump, and we can associate, say, a jump, and then some type of label where we go to. Label, let me spell it right. The label inside the instruction will be 26-bit location, so it's an absolute transfer of control. The 26 bits is expanded to 32 bits and shifted left so that you have a full 32-bit address. It differs from branches in that branches are an offset. What happens in a branch is that 16 bits of the address is stored, and what happens is when it does a branch, it gets the address of the next instruction, which is the program counter plus 4. I'll just put that note here on the PC plus 4, okay, plus the offset, and that allows us to go backwards or forwards from our current location. So that's really the difference between branches and jumps. Jumps are unconditional by their very nature. There is no question mark. You just go to it, and you either jump to it, you load the address into a register and go to it. The jump and link or jump and link registers are used in subroutine calls, and we'll cover those in a different lecture. I'll show you jump and jump register today. There is an unconditional branch, but again, it's a offset from the program counter. Now we have two other types of branches. We have conditional branches with 3 operands, and we have conditional branches with 2 operands. These are all pseudo instructions, but the interesting thing about the latter is that the number 0 is implied. So we say branch on greater than or equal to 0. And what we do is we compare a register to 0 and then branch on that. So I'm going to show you some of these. I'm not going to show you all of them. I'm going to show you some of them because once you get the idea on how to use a couple of them, the others are fairly straightforward. Well, all right. Well, I'm going to save this so I can pull it up later, and then we're going to write a program. All right. Let me pause this for a minute. Well, here we are back, and you'll recognize this, or you should. This is our proverbial Hello World first program in MIPS assembly language programming, and all it does is it prints out a simple text message. And what we'd like to do is use our branching and jump instructions to put this in a loop, which is a very, very good way to illustrate branches. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to just print this out 10 times. I'll show you one way to do it. So this is the 3 lines that we have right here is load the command to print a string into register V0, and then we have load the address of the string we want to print, and then the syscall actually execute the print or execute the command. Well, that's a better way to do it. And we want to do this 10 times. All right. Well, the first thing we do is we have to put the number of things we want to do in a counter, and I'll just put that into a temporary 10. So we'll say register T1 contains number of loops we want to do, the number of times we want to actually execute that, and we'll make that a little bit, we'll put that as a separate statement so we kind of break it apart. Now once we execute that, we have to do a test. We're going to subtract 1 from T1 minus 1. We're using an add unsigned immediate. To refresh your memory, the add IU is an immediate operation. It takes the -1, subtracts it from the second register, and puts the result into the first register. The unsigned means that we ignore the sign, it just means that we don't test for overflow. Okay, so we'll say decrement counter. Okay, forgive my spelling if that's wrong. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is we have to test for 0. I'm going to use a more primitive version of it. So I'm going to put 0 into register 0. Put 0 into register 2. Into $T2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to branch on greater than. Okay, so as long as T1, the counter, is greater than the contents of T2, which we know contains 0, then we're going to go to a label and we'll call it top. Okay, if not done, go to top. And where is top? Well, top is up here. Top is right here. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to start our program. We're going to load the number 10 into register T1. We're going to come down here and we're going to print out the first message. And then what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 1 from that register T1. And we're going to put the number 0 into T2, and we're going to test to see that T1 right here, we're going to set that T1 is still greater than T2, which is 0. So as long as it's not 0, it's going to go back up here to top, print out the string again, and start that process over again. Let's save this, and let's prove ourselves that this does work. Let's go in here and we'll say File, Reinitialize and Load File. We will load the file in. No syntax errors. That's good. Then we'll run the simulation, and we'll bring the console over here to show you that it did work. There are 10, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, there are 10 right there. All right. Well, very good. Well, that's one way of doing a loop. Okay. I'm going to show you a couple of others. Okay. Now this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a little bit of a shortcut. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load the number of things we want to do. We're still in register T1, and we're going to print off the message, and I'm still going to subtract 1 from the counter. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to load the number 0 into a register. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a BGTZ. Okay. Now, as I mentioned before in the introduction of this particular video, there are a set of branch instructions that imply the number 0. So what we can do here is we can actually take out the second operand here, because what it's going to do is it's going to compare the thing in T1, the number in T1, to the number 0. And if it's greater than 0, it's going to go back up to the top, and this will work exactly the same way as our other one. So we will save this, and we will go reinitialize and load. We'll get that file, and then we will run it, and we'll go back over here, and this is a refresh of that, and it works exactly the same way. All right. Very good. Well, now with this next set, I want to change things up just a little bit. Let me pull this back over here. The first thing I'm going to do is change the message, just so we know we did it again. And what I want to do here is I want to do something a little different, a little bit more complex. So there's times you have a counter that you keep track of the number of things that you do and compare that against a number. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to say load immediate into T2, the number 0, and this will be our counter. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do too is I'm going to load it immediate. I'm going to put in S1 top, or not load immediate, load address, excuse me, because I want to use a jump register command just to show you how that works, or how that can be used. Okay, and that is load address of top of loop into S1. Okay. Okay, so I've got top. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this around a little bit. I'm going to remove all of these. So what I've got to do here is once I come in here, I'm going to say branch on equal. Okay, I'm going to compare T1 with T2 and go to a place called end, which we will put down here, which is the end of our program. So what I'm doing here is I'm changing things around a little bit. Before I go into it, it's like a while loop. Before I go to it, I'm going to test it to make sure that I'm done. If these two are equal, in other words, if I have added one to the counter and I've finished all my prints, then it's going to go to the end. Okay. If it's not, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to add one to the counter. T2, T2, and 1. Okay. Add 1 to counter. I'm going to print the message out, do here, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump register into $S1. In other words, go back to top. Alright, well let's try this. I haven't written this particular code. We'll save it, we'll see if it works. If not, we'll go back and we'll modify it. File, reinitialize the file. We'll note it. No syntax errors, that's always a good sign. And run, and there it is. Alright, there it is, 10 times. Hello world, did it again. Let me make one quick modification here. That showed you how the jump register works. I'm just going to show you now how the jump works. To do that, I can just take this out. Okay, and I can just say jump, and then just put top right there. Well, I'll save it, reinitialize and load the file, open, and then run it again, and again it works just fine. Alright, now let me pull up the others. Open. Alright, so we've illustrated the jump register. We didn't illustrate the branch. It works the same way as the jump does. The branch on not equal compares two items that they're not equal at branches. The branch on equal compares that they are. The greater than, the less than or equal, the greater than or equal, the branch on equal, all work exactly like you think they should work. That's just variations of the things that I've been doing. Give these a try, practice with them, do some loops, do some if then else questions. Those are also very interesting too. And hope this helps you out in learning MIPS assembly. Have a good day.